Hey guys, I'm Jacob with Team 2 Shiny. We're here with one of our locals, Scott, and he's going to be showcasing his Pale Moon Harri G-Deck profile. And without further ado, go ahead.
Alright, so the starter I'm using most of the time is Happiness Collector. The advantage she generates is just really good once you start striding, and just the filling up soul just gets you going. But I also main deck the Cat Knight, because in ARG formats like 2 out of 3s, you use this as your starter against things that you know are going to retire your starter, or Chaos Breaker, Link Joker matchups, etc., etc. So that way you don't lose out anything, and it keeps your board a little bit clearer up, so you don't get locked down any harder. So it's good in the main deck too, because sometimes you just shove it in when you soul charge, and it just gives you a free booster, and it gives you another free guy, and so you hit things that I'll show on later that you can use for extra advantage and things like that.
Alright, starting with options, I like it.
I'll go into the trigger lineup real fast. 4 heals, because I don't like dying. The 4 of this G-Stand, this G-Stand is really good when you hit it off of random soul charges, because then you just fix up your soul however you need it. You get literally whatever you want. It's really good, and obviously stands are really good in this deck because you want to attack a billion times, make them keep dropping guard, make sure that they have less resources to work with while you keep a whole bunch of your advantage. Makes it more difficult for them to keep holding you off until you finally just like finish them. For the Heart Thump, because Pale Moon, you can abuse. You abuse the crap out of it. You make 21 columns with it with Cutie Paratrooper. Gets you extra cards.
And you can abuse it in the soul. You just pull it out of the soul and then push it back in when your Vanguard attacks, and just plus off of it every turn. It's really nice.
Oh yeah. And then this, even though you'll never get the effect off in this deck, it's a crit that goes back. Like, I've saved myself from decking out by using this effect and just failing to resolve.
Yeah, this is the same as like Paradigm Shift Dragon and a couple other crits that you return to your deck. If you have a certain Vanguard, do an effect. If not, you just shuffle whatever. You return it and shuffle. It's really good.
Oh yeah.
A lot of our locals are running crits like that lately.
Yeah, another grade 1 lineup. 4 Cutie Paratrooper. I was running 3, but she's just so good as your first ride. She's just so good as a unit. I had to just move it up to 4. She makes huge columns, especially when you call it out with Harri or Mephisto or whatever. It's just a really, really good card. If you happen to not be on Harri, then you're shit out of luck, but then you're in a bad position anyway, usually.
Yeah.
But otherwise, this is a really solid card. It's one of my favorites.
Alright.
4 Perfect Guard, because I don't like dying, and
course.
it's Counter Charge, and you use Counter Blast quite a bit in this deck sometimes. It depends on the card flow and how the game is going. But it's still really good. I prefer it over Hoopmaster. Hoopmaster I feel is a little bit gimmicky, but that's just my opinion. It's not for my deck. In other decks, it's probably pretty good and stuff like that. 3 Stride Enabler, for stride enabling, obviously.
For enabling that stride.
Yep. 3 Purple Trapezist. I know that some people like to run like less or not at all, but I like it for the fact that it keeps things on board, and that's good because of one card, and that is
Diablo.
Phantom Blaster Diablo. Because this deck loses to that card really bad.
Because you fade your board. If you weren't playing this, what would you play?
If I weren't playing this?
Yeah.
I would probably be running. I'd probably be running Midnight Bunnies for like on hit pressure.
Okay.
I just happen to have some with me. I'd probably be running a couple of Midnight Bunnies. The on hit pressure that Midnight Bunny provides is like ridiculous. It's really hilarious. And the best part about this card is that it can work if you attack a rear guard.
On hit anything.
Yep, on hit anything. So if I weren't running Trapezist, I'd be running Midnight Bunny. But even though I like both cards. I'm using Trapezis because she's a decent early game card. She's costless. Midnight Bunny needs a counterblast, and I'll basically be explaining why when I get into the 2s.
All right.
As for the 2s, you get Darkside Princess. Really, really good. She makes your columns super buff on attacking. With a Paratrooper, if you call Paratrooper off of Harry, that's a 12k booster with a 19 attacker. That's a 31 column. That's just redonkulous to guard. They don't want to get hit by this, and then you just swing with your Vanguard and you shove crits and whatever on it when they guard your Vanguard attack and stuff like that. Card Dealer Jacqueline, the Amber clone. I really like her because again she lets things stick just like Purple Trapezis, so that's also good for avoiding Diablos and not automatically dying. She's just really good for getting in extra attacks and filling up your soul and things like that. 3 Crescent Moon Juggler, the Glimmer Breath. He's amazing. I didn't realize it at first, but he gives both himself and the unit he calls +2, so you can set up really awesome column numbers and stuff like that. So he's just a pretty solid card. I haven't exactly hated him. Like, even if you think, oh man, you have to Soul Blast, well, you're not always going to Soul Charge good things.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just Soul Blast your triggers
or you might have to ride a Perfect Guard, so you Soul Blast that Perfect Guard out and you're set for the unflip.
Yep. And, you call him off of a Harry and use his skill and he becomes 16 by himself. That's pretty good. Now for my tech. Dancing Princess of the Night Sky. She's on ride or place. You counterblast 1, search your deck for a grade 2 or less, and shove it in your soul. So that way if you miss out on riding Cutie Paratrooper, you just shove her into the soul. Or if you did ride that, you can shove your Cat Knight in soul, and it just sets you up. It's just a tech. Because part of the problem with the deck is that it's a little inconsistent with the random soul charging from top deck. This card adds a little bit of consistency where needed. And then, like, if your soul is set up later and you just, don't need to use it, you just throw it away, whatever.
That's an interesting tech.
Yep. I haven't hated it yet.
I usually see Flying Peridot as the tech.
Yeah, I used to run Peridot, but then I realized that, like, sometimes in order to use Peridot, I would have to be calling over units and getting rid of certain cards that I would want to keep for later.
Okay.
So I sacrificed things like play extensions for deck consistency. So and that's part of the reason why I'm not using Midnight Bunny, because she uses a counterblast. So I'm using a card that's free and using a card with counterblast rather than vice versa. So that way I don't burn through too much of my counterblast and lose. Obviously for Harry, he's your main grade 3. You want to be on him at all times. He's just really good.
He's just good.
Super good. My backup 3 is Flying Manticore. There aren't a lot of good backup 3s for the deck, but I feel like Manticore, with my build anyway, is probably the most solid choice over like Reverse Luquier or whatever backup 3 you'd be thinking of. He's a Magia Searcher. Sometimes it whiffs, sometimes it hits, but it's a pretty solid hit. And he has the rear guard on hit, which lets you get in extra attacks. You call this out in front of a Paratrooper, and that's a minimum 23 column. Minimum, because Paratrooper gives it +5, so that's 7 and 16. Minimum 23, that's an on-hit, gives you more columns to attack with and all that fun stuff.
Yeah,
so
I think he's the superior backup to most of them.
Yeah, I know some people like to use Artillery Man, but I feel like that's for like a deck based around Artillery Man.
Okay.
And then for the strides, the first stride, Amanda, she's your basic first stride.
Until y'all get a first stride flipper.
Yep, but right now she's like our best first stride. She has Magia, which sets up Mephistos. Her on-hit, calls out things for extra stuff. She's just, she's solid. She's not the best, but, not
She
bad.
adds that pressure. Do you want to let it hit so I get more attacks, or do you want to drop guard? So...
Now, for probably one of the best strides, Mephisto. Some people may disagree with me. I think they're wrong. Mephisto is absolutely fantastic. As soon as I saw him, I was like, I'm running 4 of him. He's bonkers. He fills up your board with literally no commitment. With just one count, once you stride into him over Harry, with one counterblast and his skill, you fill up your board, and you don't need any sort of hand commitment. You just keep your hand for guarding and striding and all that fun stuff, and you just have your soul, and it's pretty bonkers. The obvious downside being if you're playing Shadows and you get hit by Diablo. And that sucks.
So you just gotta be careful.
Yep, you just gotta be careful about how you use it, when you use it. If they've already strode once and they have that sword over your head, you're just like, well, I mean, gotta be careful now. But otherwise, Mephisto is a fantastic card. He adds all sorts of pressure, especially that second stride. The second time you go into Mephisto, he just makes your board ridiculously huge. It's insane. It's freaking amazing. 2 Lunatic, he's a good finisher card. Your opponent's at 4, you didn't see them drive check a perfect guard, and he also adds power to your rear guards, and he's also basically your Saint Blow. If you fight against Link Joker, you just go into this and you try to hit them. If they have the perfect guard, it sucks, but once we get the G bump, we'll have another Lunatic beside that, so
And he gains a free crit.
Yep, that's right. He's a really solid card. Mephisto slightly outshines him. I obviously love both of them, but Mephisto slightly outshines him because he's more useful in more matchups. You just get extra attacks and beat down on your opponent. And then one big hairy evolution stride, just mostly because he's there. I don't really use him a lot. He's got Magia, so if you need to flip him for Mephisto and save like a third Mephisto for later, you can. I don't use him a lot, but he's there if you need him. Otherwise, in this slot, I just have another Amanda for the Magia skill.
All right. All right. Thank you. Anything else you'd like to add before we get going?
Not really. I mean, I mostly went over why I use the cards that I use and stuff like that.
I like the build. It's a very solid build, different than what you see everywhere else. A little the same, but still a little bit different, like that grade 2 tech. But until next time, guys, this is Team Too Shiny, and this is Scott's Pale Moon deck profile. Thank you, guys.
See you later.